Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got some new information in the whole Las Vegas Cybertruck bomber via Shawn Ryan. Now, as you guys know, Shawn Ryan went to disappear with his family for a few days. And as far as we know, that's still what's going on, almost a week later-ish. But he did take the social media, or perhaps it's his actual producer handling things. But from what I can see in the live that just happened a few days ago, Shawn Ryan is back in action to an extent. And it's mainly because he feels like he has to defend himself. Now, a lot of you guys in the comments of my last video, they were talking about how, Sam Shoemate has done a complete 180, and I don't really think so, but I'm going to play it for you guys who haven't seen the clip so you can understand a little bit more what I'm talking about. Then I'm going to play some clips from the live. We're going to go over just Shawn Ryan defending himself, Shoemate actually defending himself, and then we're going to discuss the number change a little bit. And then we're going to go over some new information that's come out from the Las Vegas PD. All very interesting stuff. And then I'm just going to give you what I think is going on, because honestly, I've heard everything. The story's still developing day after day, but I'm pretty solidified on what I think is going on here. Now, let's just get into what Shawn Ryan said right away. Over the past few days, something has become very apparent to me. Everyone claims to want the truth, transparency, and disclosure unless they aren't a part of it. And if they are not a part of it, they will stop at nothing to try and destroy everything you've ever done. No matter how much good or how much truth, their ego will consume their entire mind and eventually their entire existence. Humanity is in a sad state. Now, this is Shawn Ryan. This was put out today, actually, on January 7th. Shawn Ryan's ticked off. He's ticked off because of what he's hearing. Of course, everybody is saying he's deep state. Even I'm touching on, I'm like, oh, can we really trust people who have been in line with these three-letter agencies and whatnot? But obviously, it's starting to get to him. He doesn't do the whole Rogan thing, which is post and ghost. Now, that's what Shawn Ryan was saying. I'm also going to just play this quick clip. This is him defending himself just a little bit within the spaces that he did on X. Also, as you know, everything that you see that's from X, which is this whole video, will be reposted on my channel. So if you want to see it there, you can.
Controversy around the emails that we received and the podcast that we released. And, I just want to say it was very timely, and we did receive the emails, and, we'll do our best that we can to prove that tonight. But, I released this early. Sam had an email roll in that got to Jeremy, my producer, and, we released it. And I think we did the right thing. There's a lot of distrust within the government. There's a lot of distrust within, especially the FBI. And we've seen attack after attack, the Vegas shooting. We saw the Covenant disaster that happened at the school, and none of these manifestos ever get released. And so we wanted to make sure that this thing got released. It did get released, and through our show. And nobody seems to trust the mainstream media anymore. And I think I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing. And even after that, we immediately got the information to the FBI so that they can do whatever they need to do with it, which is hopefully dig into this and find what the hell was going on. But so we got a whole list of speakers here tonight. I'll just make some introductions here. Shawn Ryan here, former Navy SEAL, former CIA contractor.
So that was Shawn Ryan just putting it out there. He wants to prove himself. A lot of people thought, from the comments that I was getting on my video to do with Shawn Ryan, they thought Shawn did this spaces to kind of combat what Shoemate had done in regards to this whole 180 that he did on a podcast appearance, a separate podcast appearance, not the Shawn Ryan show. And that's just not the case. As you can see right there, Shoemate is right there. He's one of the speakers. He ends up speaking. He defends himself. You're going to see that in a little bit in this video. But yeah, this was not him or him and Shoemate kind of at odds here. They're working together. They both want to prove themselves. People are saying that the emails are fake. They're trying to provide proof that they're real, and they just go through a whole thing. This thing's 2 hours and 3 minutes, so I didn't want to play too much of it. But again, will be reposted on my X. Here's the so-called 180 that Shoemate did, and we'll just go from there after.
So after I did the interview, a lot of people, nobody knew that I had the manifesto. I had to be very quiet for a day. So people were messaging me and they're like, have you heard of this guy? Have you seen this? Blah, blah, blah. And they didn't know I wasn't posting on it. People expect me to post on these relevant incidents like this, because just like I had posted on the New Orleans guy. So I was like being very quiet because Shawn was like, dude, you haven't told anybody, any other media you have this, right? I was like, no, nobody. I wasn't going to put it out on my own social media because people would be like, dude, you made this up. I knew I couldn't handle this information on my own. So anyways, after I did the show and it blew up and people were like, holy crap, they knew who I was. And people on my Instagram page started telling me things. So I had a lot of people reaching out, telling me what they had talked to, but with their Green Beret buddies. One person reached out and told me they had a very close connection to members of the family, which I won't go into. But what I've learned since then, and I'm going to say allegedly because I don't have proof of this, but I've had 3 people tell me this. Allegedly, Matt Livelsberger changed his meds several days prior to this incident. I don't know what several days means, but what I was told by several people who I value their input and are close to the situation told me that he was on antipsychotic medication. He had changed his medications, and they said that basically something crazy happened and he became suicidal. So people ask me, is he sane? Was he whatever? Well, I've gotten 2 stories on this, and I want people to hear me very carefully on this because I am saying 2 different things at the same time. What I have heard from family members, and this is what I put out. I think I put this out on the Shawn Ryan podcast because I heard this from, I saw this on social media. I have not personally talked to any family members. Let me make that clear. I saw on social media that members of his family had said that this was not normal for him. He was very normal. He was very sane mind. His teammates were shocked. Everybody was shocked because he was not a crazy dude, whatever else. And that's what I knew. And then after the podcast, I found out that it was literally he changed his medication within days of this event and something shifted. So if his family had not seen that within the days of this, he could have been acting very bizarre, very strange. And the manifesto that he wrote, along with these letters and everything else, the guy was clearly, and I will stick to this. His desire was to send a message. It wasn't to do a mass casualty event. It wasn't to screw anybody over. It was to make this message as prominent as possible. And I still believe that. He was not trying to blow up that tower, in my opinion. He was not trying to blow up the tower. He was not trying to kill a bunch of people. The dude, and I say this respectfully to his teammates. I say this respectfully to his family. The dude had a screw loose, okay? I'm not going to get into the labeling of him. I don't know what his situation was, but I believe that he had a psychotic break. Whatever he was living with from whatever he thinks happened in 2019, whether it happened or not, these alleged war crimes, maybe what he knows about drone warfare and technology, maybe that was real. Maybe it was coupled with fantasy. Maybe his brain and it mushed the 2 together, and it was all very bizarre. And that's my initial take when I read the manifesto without knowing the context of who this person was and what he was about to do. So I think I don't think, I will say this, I will back up. I put out a theory, and I made clear that it was a theory of him potentially being alive, and I walked through the steps of that. I don't think he's alive now based on the information that has come out from the Las Vegas Police Department. I think he is, in fact, dead.
Now, a lot of people are calling that a 180. I don't call that a 180. I call that this story is developing. Day by day, this story is developing. If all of a sudden the military figures out, oh, I don't know why we were testing his son. We actually have his DNA on file and we can just match up those DNAs. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, the DNAs don't match up. Whoa, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden the story takes a big turn, if that's what happened. I'm not saying that's what happened. But the fact that he found out, now I don't know who he found this out from, but the fact that he found out that the guy was on meds, or there was a change to the meds, whatever it might be, anti-psych type stuff, right then and there, you have to now read that email that you were sent, and he was sent the email, and I'm going to show you how I know that that is verified fact, that he was sent that email. It was not a fake email. Now, the fact that he's now looking at it through a different lens. He probably went and read that email again, thinking, could this be, is this exhibiting anything that's somebody who is off a little bit? You know, could that be what I'm reading right now? You have to do that. That's not a 180. That's not him changing his story. That's him learning something and then saying, okay, I have to adjust the way I was seeing this. Then he learned something from the Las Vegas PD, even more concrete. And he goes, okay, I had a theory that he was still alive, but now I'm going to throw that theory aside. This is not a 180. This is a developing story where a guy pretty much just got thrown into it via an email. And then all of a sudden he's on the Shawn Ryan podcast. And all of a sudden he has all of X just calling him a liar. Not all of X, but you know what I mean. It gets hard. When you're getting negative comments, you feel like that's all that's going on in the world, especially if you read it, which I think he was a little bit. Shawn Ryan as well. They were really going into it. We're all guilty of that. So the dude has a screw loose. Didn't really have to say that. Could have just said he's a little off, but you know, he's trying to make his point. I get it. Guy could have had a psych break. 100% could have had a psych break. Who actually knows if he's learning this from a legit source about the change of meds? Then you know, what are you gonna do? You gotta consider that. Now all of a sudden he's saying, you know, this is how people are viewing it. Now all of a sudden he's saying these alleged war crimes. Well, again, he doesn't actually know. And when he read it the first time, he didn't actually know. Now, Shawn Ryan was going over a bunch of stuff that was kind of making sense, but that's what they were doing together. They were kind of knocking heads to try and figure out what was going on. That's why even live on the show, Shawn's like, let me take a break. And then he figured out he had an email as well. Now, if you're still in the camp of these emails are fake no matter what, because they exist, and if they exist, they're fake, then have at that. But they're more than likely real. And again, I'm going to show some things that are verifying that this is actually real as well. Maybe he knew about drones. That whole drone thing sounded odd to me. You know, I went over it with Hank a little bit. The whole China thing. It's like, okay, you know, I don't know. And then the theory about him being alive sounded real to me. And honestly, I'm still kind of like, I don't know. How could you actually know? The amount of people who jump in the comment sections who are like, they've seen all the same videos as you and I, and they're like, well, I know for sure. I 100% know. Do you know anybody in the military? No, not one person, but I saw a video. It's like, okay, you know, like these videos that I'm doing, they're not going to give you 100%. Like you'll know what's going on. I always say getting informed is very hard. This is a developing story. Things could change overnight, you know? Like, how do we know tomorrow he's not like, hello, I'm Matt Berg, and I did this, and he puts a video out. We'd all be stunned. And then what everybody knew would all of a sudden change, you know what I mean? But I don't think that's going to happen. Now, this video that I'm showing you here, this is Shoemate defending himself. Let's listen in. Oh, of course, I got to slow it down. Hold on. There you go.
Is Tim on here yet?
He is. I've got to get Jordan in as a co-host to help me out here. Can you add that while I pass it over to Sam real quick?
Yeah.
You passing it off to me now, Jeremy?
Yes, please.
Okay. Didn't get a framework for what I'd be saying here tonight, so I'm kind of winging it right now. I just posted a screen record. I recommend you go look at my timeline. I screen recorded my Proton Mail app, and I walked through the timeline I dropped everything down as specific as I possibly could to show when this stuff came in. Okay. There's been a lot of big names and influencers out there coming after my credibility, attacking me, claiming that I fabricated this email. Of all the things you could attack me for, fabrication of the email doesn't make sense to me, simply because so many people have seen it at this point. The FBI has commented on it and everything else, but that is what it is. So they've come after me personally, attacking me, and I basically made the conjecture, and I want to get this single point across tonight. When you watch that video and you show the timeline, and there's no squiggle lines or anything else, this is a direct screen record of my Proton Mail app. And when you see the timeline, you will see that this person, who is either Matt or claims to be Matt, reached out to me on Sunday after they first contacted me on Instagram. They reached out on Sunday and sent that first message. You can read it directly in there. It's everything is very easy to read. I spent plenty of time recording this. You go to the next message and he gives the manifesto. He breaks down the manifesto, and that was on Tuesday, December 31st. Now, here's the thing. There are three options in my mind. Either I'm a fortune teller and I can see the future, and I knew that he was going to do this thing, and I fabricated these emails to send them to myself before the action with proven timestamps, or I'm a deep state operative. I'm part of the CIA or whatever spooky services out there, and this was a very well coordinated and put together scheme to psyop the country, or I'm exactly who I say I am. I'm a recently retired Army veteran who has run a military whistleblower social media page for the last 4.5 years. I have dozens of articles that mention my name in them, and anybody who's halfway decent at doing a little bit of a deep dive can look into that and see that there are years of articles with my name mentioned in them as a source or whatever else. I would tend to go with the latter, but I understand how the internet is, and I want you to understand that a lot of the nonsense you're seeing out there is based on poor research, such as the squiggly lines on the Apple Notes page. This stuff could have been. I understand conspiracies, though, so I'll leave you with that. Whoever's up next, go ahead and take it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'll say this last thing. I've tried to be as transparent as possible. I've given headers. I don't understand a lot of these things. So as far as somebody explained to give the headers from it, and basically all it did was say that it was a Proton Mail to a Proton Mail. I've taken screenshots of the box. I just recorded the video earlier. I've done everything I can to show you that this email was factually sent to me on these dates from this person who claims to be Matt Livelsberger, an individual who I didn't care about. That meant nothing to me until I read the news the next day. Well, until technically somebody sent me the news 2 days after the fact in the morning. But that name meant nothing to me, and I ignored the email initially until I saw, wow, this guy in my email is the same guy allegedly who committed these attacks. I'll leave you with that.
So that is Shoemate defending himself. Again, a lot of people, they were talking about this live. They didn't listen to it completely, which is disappointing because that was only 13 minutes and 50 seconds in. They would have heard Matt actually defending himself and kind of planting himself in his story, saying, this is actually what happened. I've done all I could to show that this is legit, instead of going with the whole, this guy has completely flip-flopped, says, because that's just not the case. I think this is the video that he's talking about before the X Space on Shawn Ryan's show tonight. I made a quick screen record of my Proton. Yeah, this is the video. So let's check this out.
I'm going to attempt to record something here.
Let's go.
Here, which I know will almost certainly not please the masses, but in an effort to be as transparent as possible, I want to show you my Proton Mail email so you can see exactly what I'm seeing, so that there aren't any products created by the Shawn Ryan show with red squiggly lines on them or any kind of hint of screenshotting or anything else. Okay, so I talked to a cryptography, I think that's the word, I don't know. Anyways, an expert from the Navy who told me how to download the email, hash it, provide that to somebody else, and then they would match it with their hash. The problem is if I put that out publicly, then you're going to see the names that were redacted. The Shawn Ryan show was specifically asked to redact names for people who are currently active in the field. With that said, I want you to see my inbox, exactly what was sent to me and on what day. And I'll try to explain this as best I can. The first email after he made contact on Instagram was sent on December 29th, 2024 at 3:22 p.m. This was last Sunday. I'm giving you time to read and look through everything as detailed as possible. The second email came in on Tuesday. This was the manifesto. That says December 31st, 2024 at 10:42 a.m. I'm not going to scroll all the way to the bottom. You've already seen the manifesto. There are names that have been redacted on the one that Shawn Ryan show provided. However, this email, this is the raw email, has the unredacted names on there. Once again, this was sent on Tuesday, December 31st at 2024 at 10:42 a.m. This was my response to him on the same day. Once again, December 31st, 2024 at 11:55 a.m. I responded a while later with this reply because obviously I was skeptical, and I made that very clear in the podcast. I was skeptical. This was a burner account that had reached out to me. This guy claiming that he was Matt Livelsberger. First of all, at the time, I didn't know who Matt Berg was. That meant nothing to me. He was just another person until the following day when the explosion at the Trump Tower took place. He replied on Tuesday, December 31st, 2024 at 2:41 p.m. Can I get a Fox News contact on Signal as well as Sean's show? Hegseth would be good too. Exactly like I told you on the show, everything laid out. I sent this to the Shawn Ryan show because I wanted them to see it. And that was sent on Thursday at 9:09 a.m. Now, if you recall, I had that conversation with my friend at 8:40, I believe it was 8:47 a.m. in the morning, the one that I provided the audio clip from Signal. He reached out to me, if you'll recall, my buddy Corey, and he said, hey, do you know this guy? Nobody seems to know him. And that's when I freaked out. And approximately, 20 minutes later or so, I sent this to the Shawn Ryan show. And then I had a conversation with the FBI. Immediately after that, January 2nd, 2025 at 9:44 a.m., I was on the phone with the FBI when I sent them this email. This was directly to them as I was speaking to them. I sent them the email. I was on the phone. I had given them a full description of what had come into my inbox and what I was dealing with. And then, because I saw a lot of discrepancy and chaos and stuff was swirling online, I actually reached back out to the original account, the account from Matt Livelsberger, or at least the person claiming to be Matt Livelsberger, on January 2nd, 2025 at 12:16 p.m. in the afternoon. And I said, are you still alive? Is someone on the other end of this account? I didn't get a reply back at that time. I'm not going to show you the rest of the message traffic because those were people I sent it to in case something happened to me. Those were other Those were journalists and those were trusted friends of mine that I wanted to make sure had this email in case something happened to me. And that is the full chain of events on this email. Once again, I did not create an email that had squiggly lines on it and send it to the Shawn Ryan show. That was their own product that they created for the show. I sent them the unredacted email, which is this one right here. I forwarded it directly to them, and I've shown in here the time and date that I forwarded it to the Shawn Ryan show and the FBI, which was minutes apart.
Okay, so that's the whole video. I did not intend on showing that to you guys, but he mentioned it in that other clip, so I figured I'd go and try and find it real quick. It was easier than I thought, so I figured I'd show it to you. You know, one thing that I thought of when it comes to people not believing, because there's a bunch of people, you know, even within my audience that didn't believe that any of this is real. And, you know, I'm teetering, you know, I have to find the information. I have to look at it through different lenses. But if I just look at it as me, the person watching a video, not the person who's creating content, not someone who knows what it's like on the other side of the camera, yeah, I'm going to think it's all fake. I'm going to, yeah, what is this? You know, and you know what another thing I noticed is that came to mind, that a lot of people will not believe stuff like this. Because the same way that we're tired of seeing guys in suits who are like, hello, this is MSNBC, your trusted news source. Here we go. Just so you know, white Christian men are racist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't go for that anymore. But it's the same way we don't go for someone being like, and I was on the phone with the FBI. We're like, you were what? On the phone with who? You got friends in the CIA? What? Like, we don't go for that. Like, there's not just a new generation of people making videos, but there's a new generation of people who know what they want to see. They want to see Anderson Cooper. They don't want the person who knows FBI contacts. They don't like that anymore. And, you know, you can't blame them. There's a lot of distrust within the government, and that goes for people all over. It goes to the agencies, the politicians, the Congress, the Senate, the president. Everybody's mistrusted right now. Administration, everybody. So it's hard. It's hard to just trust somebody like that, you know? Oh, and I was just on the phone with my friend from the FBI. It's like, well, how do I believe anything you have to say now? You got a friend? You guys good friends? You guys hang out? I was a contractor for the... What? You were... What? They gave you money? It's hard, you know? It doesn't mean that they're automatically lying with everything they say, but it's like, there's a lot of distrust. That's all I'm saying. And we're kind of tired of it. Now, again, that was a little sidetrack. I'm going to show you some new information that popped up recently. Here it is. Apparently, the Cybertruck attacker, whatever you want to call him, used ChatGPT to accomplish this.
The sheriff talked about how the suspect in this case used ChatGPT to plan out his attack. You're going to see a few of the entries that he posted. This is chronological by date, but he basically starts using ChatGPT, which is a generative AI, to be able to get information on how to conduct this particular plot. So ultimately, you'll see that he looks at trying to figure out the amount of explosives.
I don't believe it. Like, I don't even have to show you the whole thing. And again, it's all reposted on my X if you want to jump over there and actually see it. I don't... That there's a lot of things where I'm like, okay, let me think about this, that. No, not on any level. Not with my tinfoil Speedo on, not with me just freeballing it, not barefoot, not wearing socks. I'm not wearing any socks right now. That's why I said that. No part of me believes that the guy who was a Green Beret needed to go on ChatGPT to look this type of stuff up. And then also that he thought that that was a good idea if he was being tracked, monitored, listened to. Why on earth do that? I don't know. But then again, you know, Shoemate says that he was allegedly, you know, not of sound mind. So then maybe you do that. I don't know. I just figure that those type of guys will have that type of information to at least know how to pull something like that off. That's just me. We go on here again. This is about the number change a little bit. I'm just going to play a few minutes of this, and then I'm going to jump over to this part because, again, you know, tinfoil Speedo's on. Yeah, I'm going to talk about like how I actually feel about this.
I think is kind of telling of possibly who the author of that letter is. And it definitely doesn't lead towards being a Green Beret, at least in my opinion.
Well, I can definitely agree with a lot of what you said, but the thing is that the emails did come in before January 1st, and they did say that
Right.
this had to go out before January 1st, and now we all know what happened on January 1st. And
Right.
so, I think the guy was definitely struggling with something that happened in 19.
Right. And, that would be true, except for the fact that I have also spoken with the person that leaked out the information about the Signal chat safety number, as well as the name on Signal being changed after the fact, after the detonation took place over inside of Las Vegas.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too, Matt. Keep going, but I want to reference that.
Yeah. If Shawn, do you want me to go deep into this, or do you want me just to brush over it? Because there's more about this that I haven't brought up to the public. I talked about it a little bit in my space last night, but I didn't fully disclose it yet.
No, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So there is obviously, the information that ended up getting put out on 4chan Twitter about his Signal safety number and also his name being changed over inside Signal, one which took place on the 29th of December and another one that took place following the detonation itself. What is really concerning to me about this entire situation is somebody that has the ability to change a Signal safety number following the detonation, where we know Matt Leibelsberger is dead. When we start talking about the ability to send out emails and everything else, which is why I said I'm very thankful for guys like you and Shu putting this information out ahead of time to make sure it's on public record that is undeniable. When we start presenting information like this, it's almost undeniable in that extent that how did his Signal safety number get changed? Signal is supposed to be one of those, secure messaging apps that has yet to be hacked, at least what's known to the public. But there is additional information that hasn't been released to the public yet, and we're holding it very, very tight because a lot of the people that ended up disclosing this are still on active duty. And Matt had just, back in November, when I say Matt, I'm talking about Matt Leibelsberger, back in November of 24, had just moved into this new drone position, had just completed some of his initial training into it. He was also in a group chat over on Signal that commonly discussed drones and, things with drones. And a lot of the messages that he had ended up posting inside of that Signal chat, which has dozens of members inside of it, ended up getting deleted. And those messages would suggest that he was not at all competent when it comes to drone operations or robotics. If anything, they pointed to the fact that he was a novice in it. Some of the things that are still on record that are in that particular chat are showing that he had a very basic understanding of it. And when he had posted them, he was excited, like, hey, everybody check this out. While everybody was also like, yeah, that's great, Matt. We're already well aware of that. Like, welcome to the freaking club, pal. And so there is some very serious issues. So we're not saying that these emails were not sent to Shawn. We're not saying these emails were not sent to Shu. We're not saying that they're not sent to Anti-Hero Podcast, but we're saying these things need a much deeper look taken before judgment is drawn.
Yeah, and to echo that plus rehash what I talked about in the podcast, people have asked me my opinion whether this email came from Matt Leibelsberger. And I have said yes. And the reason why is, at least from his phone, at least from his device, the device had access to this. Maybe not from him physically, but from his device. The reason why is because when I saw those Signal chats leaked on the internet, I went into my Signal chat and I showed this on the Shawn Ryan podcast, and I had the same exact matching safety number change on mine. And that took place on the attack happened on Wednesday. It took place on Thursday. I screenshot that on Thursday, and it shows, safety number, or this happened. He made contact with me on such and such date, and then there was a blank, and then it showed safety number change. And I said, that's the same freaking thing these had. And people said, well, how do you know that Signal chat is from Matt? And I said, because it matches people who knew him. People who knew him prior to this incident knew that they were talking to Matt. They were speaking to Matt. So either Matt sent that Signal message, therefore confirming that he sent that email as well, or somebody had his device prior to that first initial contact on
Right.
Sunday.
And that's something that I'm going to back you up on this, right? Like, I have well vetted that source and know for a fact who that individual is, and that they had, distinct and intimate information that leads to that. And so for people to say that that did not occur, or that that is false information, is bull. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Again, I understand that some people are just not going to believe it regardless. But there you go. Also, I will just correct this gentleman who was speaking right there. Oh, it's known as this place, this app that can't be hacked. The public, the public wouldn't know about this. This is 100% not true. Tucker Carlson let us all know that his signal was hacked when he was first trying to interview Vladimir Putin. This was before the interview happened. This was like a year or so before the interview happened. He was just talking about logistics and how we can make this happen and if he's open to it. And then Tucker got a call from someone who worked in Washington. They met up. He let them know that, hey, they've gotten to your signal. They're reading your messages because they wanted to. And Tucker was very stunned by this. And it was the NSA. And it turned out to be very true that they did do this. It was because their reasoning is because he was talking to a foreign national of the Russian government that they had to do this for safety reasons. But it did show that when it comes to signal, it is not completely secure. It can be hacked. Doesn't matter what your safety number is, if you're verified or this or that. They can get in if they want to get in. And they can come up with any reason that they want, quite honestly. And Tucker didn't say that, but I'm saying that. Now, first Trump attacker, BlackRock promotional video. When that first came out, that little tidbit, I was like, that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, that's nonsense. He could be at a school. They're interviewing a teacher. So what? And then the second Trump attacker, he's in this battalion promotional video. And I was like, well, that is just odd. And then the third attacker, and again, I'm going to get to my point. He's in a History Channel TV show with Tim Kennedy. And, where I'm at with this whole thing, I mean, one thing is for sure. The emails, his whereabouts, what happened to him, this, that, all of that seems to be up in the air and this and that and still developing. One thing's clear. That was placed where it was to send a message to Donald Trump. They did it right in front of Trump Tower, right in front of a big sign that said Trump directly under it, like 4 feet under it. This was done to send a message to Trump. That's my opinion. That's just what I think ended up happening. It just looks that way. It's a Tesla that got blown up, unrecognizable in front of Trump. That's a message. You cannot, out of everything else, we can all debate. But the one thing that can't be debated is there was a message sent to Trump. 100%. So I think the rest of it, honestly, might just be smoke and mirrors. I think if you're Donald Trump, it doesn't matter who the guy was, what his motives were, the emails, all of the stuff that we're talking about doesn't matter if you're Trump. You're looking at that and you're saying, that's a direct message to me. The first message with this guy was, we missed you, but we tried. The second message was, we tried again. The third message was, we haven't forgotten. Just because you got elected doesn't mean we've forgotten. That's my thought process on the whole thing, okay? You know what? Let's just skip over here because it's just more about the number change, but I think that clip about the number change there was pretty solid. They're talking about sources. Obviously, they can't give us the name of their sources. If you still got your tinfoil Speedo on, you could be like, hey, there are no sources. Why do I trust these guys? Understand completely. But one thing I do know is that the Las Vegas PD came forward with this.
He's gotten into the weeds on any of that.
That podcast email is him.
Yeah, so we have confirmed that the document that he sent to the podcast, we know that he was the one that sent that document. That's correct. Gotten into the weeds on any of that.
So they have verified that the document that was sent to the podcast, and they're talking about Sam Shoemate. They're talking about the email that he sent to the podcast and all of that happened on the Shawn Ryan show. That has been verified as real. That email was real. They have to look into all this. They've been looking into all this. And to that, Shawn Ryan said The only fraud here is you, Seb Gorka. FBI confirmed the email sent to my podcast was from Matt Berg. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you with your new director of counterterrorism who seems to lack discernment. Now, that was because this person here, and I'll show you their account. Is this their account? No. Well, it is their account, but I want to actually show you their account. This person here actually said that about Matt. Somebody called me Mr. Mega once, blah, blah, blah. So it was just this person that was mouthing off about Shawn. They said, trust Ryan McBeth to skewer another fraud, because this Ryan McBeth person made a video about Shawn Ryan and Sam Shoemate lying. He said the emails were fabricated completely. The FBI has verified that that is not true. A lot of people commented. They said, Seb, you picked the wrong guy for a fight in Shawn Ryan. He has so much credibility. At the very least, you should contact Jeremy, Shawn's producer, and have had them walk you through the information, admit your mistake, apologize to Shawn and Sam, delete this. Coming from someone that makes videos, if he made money from it, he's not going to delete it. I mean, let's just be honest here, guys. Gorka, you really need to walk this one back pronto. You're dead nuts wrong. I've never heard that expression. That caught me off guard. You're dead nuts wrong, and you owe Shawn Ryan and Sam Shoemate an apology. And a lot of the comments are just that. I'll take Shawn Ryan's word over both of you any day. Don't disrespect American soldiers, Gorka. It was just a lot of that. So Shawn actually proved himself right. He defended himself, and then Jeremy, his producer, said Sam did the right thing. Sam actually reposted this as well, because this is what they were looking for. Again, they said that they sent this information to the FBI. They did send it to the FBI. The FBI just confirmed the emails that Sam shared on the Shawn Ryan show were sent by the guy. All you dorks who accuse Shawn and Shu of being liars can apologize anytime now. I agree, and some of you can apologize to me as well. I'm kidding. Kind of. There's a lot of people coming down on Shawn and then me by proxy. But there you go. So they defended themselves. It turns out that they were actually correct about these emails. They're not just making things up. There was no 180 when it comes to Sam Shoemate and his accounting of what happened. This is a developing story. Things will change as it goes on. If there's any more developments, maybe there's none and it stops here. But as they learn more, you will learn more. The people who are posting videos like myself will learn more, and they'll keep bringing you information. That's just the way it goes. And sometimes you just got to let a story just do that. But at the same time, you do have to keep presenting the information that you have at hand as it comes to you. So that's what you're seeing there with Shawn Ryan and Sam Shoemate. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Helps the channel tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.